I'm Audrey, I'm 33, and last Christmas my sister added me to the family group chat by accident. 47 messages, every one of them about a holiday they were planning without me, for the third year in a row. My mother typed it out plain. Make sure she doesn't find out. My brother replied right under it. Just tell her the wrong date like last year. My father sent a laughing emoji. I was sitting in a hotel room 400 miles from home, and I read every single word. I screenshotted all of it, and on Christmas morning I typed one line back into that chat. Merry Christmas. Your realtor will explain the rest. The group went dead. Then the calls started. 89 in 1 hour. But here's what none of them thought to check. A document filed at the county recorder's office 8 years ago, signed by a woman who loved me more than any of them ever bothered to. 47 messages showed me where I stood. One message showed them where the ground was. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories. Quiet stories about ordinary people who stop apologizing for taking up space. If you've ever been the one left off the list, this one's for you. Drop a comment, and be sure to subscribe so the next story finds you. It was a Tuesday in early December, and I was in a Hampton Inn outside Columbus. I'd been on site for a bridge retrofit. 3 weeks in, 2 to go, eating takeout at my laptop every night. My phone buzzed on the nightstand around 9. Then again. Then again. I picked it up and saw a group I'd never been added to. A thread titled with a Christmas tree emoji, the word fam, another emoji, and the word planning. 47 messages stacked underneath like a tower I wasn't supposed to see. Brooke, my younger sister, had sent a private text seconds after. Oops, wrong chat. Ignore that LOL. Too late. I was already scrolling. The first few were logistics. Nathan, my older brother, asked if the 25th worked for everyone. Mom confirmed. Dad sent a thumbs up. Normal enough. Then the conversation shifted. Message 9, Mom. We should do the nice china this year. Audrey won't be there to complain about hand washing. Message 10, Nathan. LOL, finally a relaxed one. I kept scrolling. My name showed up exactly 0 times in the planning and exactly 4 times in the managing. Nathan, message 11. Just tell her the wrong date like last year. Mom, message 14. The 28th. Say we're doing a small thing on the 28th. Dad, message 16. A laughing face. Brooke, message 22. What if she finds out? Mom, message 23. She won't, she never does. I put the phone down on the polyester bedspread, picked it up, put it down again. 47 messages and not a single one invited me. 4 of them made sure I'd stay gone. The phone buzzed once more. Brooke again. Privately. Seriously, just ignore it, it's nothing. I didn't reply. I opened the group chat again and started screenshotting from the top. I should tell you who I am, because it matters for what comes next. I'm a structural engineer. I design load paths for bridges and parking garages and the occasional hospital wing. I've been licensed for 9 years, and I spend about 40% of my time on the road, staying in hotels like that Hampton Inn, eating dinner alone, billing hours. I'm good at my job. I'm good at it because I'm patient with details and I don't skip steps. And those are qualities my family has never once found interesting. Growing up in Millfield, Ohio, I was the middle kid who turned in homework on time, while Nathan played varsity baseball and Brooke did pageants. Mom drove them. Dad cheered. I rode my bike to the library. That was fine. I told myself busy people get forgotten, and I kept telling myself that for years. I sent the Christmas gifts on time every year. I booked the restaurant for Mom's birthday 3 years running. When Dad needed his truck moved for surgery, I drove 6 hours on a Thursday to do it. When the roof leaked during a storm and Nathan was too busy to check, I called the roofer from a job site in Kentucky and paid the deposit over the phone. I never asked to be thanked. I just assumed that being useful was the same as being included. And still, last December, I showed up at the house on the 28th, the date they gave me, with a baking dish full of scalloped potatoes and a bottle of wine, and the door was locked, lights off, wreath still on the hook but nobody home. I called Mom. She picked up on the fifth ring, voice light. Oh, honey, I thought we told you. We did Christmas on the 25th this year. It was a last-minute thing. I stood on the porch with the potatoes cooling in my hands and I said, "That's okay. My fault for not checking." It was not my fault. And it was not last minute. I just didn't know that yet. Back in the hotel, still reading, I hit message 31 and my stomach dropped. Nathan had typed, "Closing's the 26th. Just keep her clear till then." Closing. I read it 3 times. Closing on what? 2 messages later. Mom. Karen says the buyer wants a walkthrough Christmas afternoon, so we need the place empty by noon. Karen. A buyer. A walkthrough. They were selling something, and whatever it was, they needed me out of the way to do it. I set the phone face down and stared at the wall, and the only thing I could think about was my grandmother's house, Nan Margaret's house, the yellow clapboard on Sycamore. 2 stories, a porch that wrapped around the south side like a long arm. White trim that Dad repainted every 5 years when he still bothered. A mailbox shaped like a barn that Nan's husband built before I was born. I lived there the summer after my freshman year of college, when I couldn't afford the dorm deposit and didn't want to ask my parents. Nan let me sleep in the upstairs bedroom with the sloped ceiling and the window that overlooked the backyard maple, made me coffee every morning at 6, and told me to study hard and not worry about the rest. That house was the only place I never had to explain why I was there. I had a key. I still have it. A brass one, heavier than the others on my ring, cut in a style they don't make anymore. Nan gave it to me the year she turned 75, in front of the whole family at Thanksgiving. She pressed it into my palm and said, "This is your home whenever you need one, Audrey." Mom rolled her eyes. Nathan was on his phone. Dad nodded politely and went back to the game. None of them thought it meant anything. The phone on the bedspread buzzed again. I picked it up. Another message in the chat. I kept reading. Message 36 was the one that did it. Mom, all caps for emphasis. Make sure she doesn't find out. Not whispered, not implied. Typed in black and white and sent to 4 people who all hit the like button. 2 messages later, Dad. My father, Glenn Grant, 64 years old, the man who taught me to change a tire in the driveway, sent a yellow face laughing so hard it cried. He didn't even type a word. He just laughed. I screenshotted that one twice because my hands were shaking and the first capture was blurred. I want to be clear about something. I didn't screenshot those messages to use as weapons. I did it because I was alone in a hotel room and my chest was compressing, and I needed proof that I wasn't making this up. I've spent years smoothing things over. Years telling myself the missed invitations were scheduling errors and the wrong dates were honest mistakes. And the silence after I left a voicemail was just everyone being busy. 47 messages killed every excuse I'd ever built. They weren't forgetting me. They were coordinating around me. There was a calendar, a buyer, a closing date, and a plan to keep me blind while they did whatever they were doing with Nan Margaret's house, the only place that ever felt like mine. And they'd built the plan on the assumption that I would never push back, never question, never check. Because I never had. That was my role. The reliable, absent one who signed what she was told to sign and showed up when she was told to show up and disappeared the rest of the time without making noise. I sat in that hotel room until midnight, reading the thread forward and backward, and the thing that kept circling was the word, again. Like last year. Which meant last year wasn't an accident either. The potatoes, the locked door, the light voice on the phone. All of it was the same play, run twice. My thumb hovered over the call button next to Mom's name for 11 seconds. I counted. 11 seconds of picturing the conversation. I'd say I saw the chat, she'd go quiet, then she'd cry, then she'd tell me I was being dramatic, then I'd apologize for making her feel bad about making me feel invisible. I'd done that math before. I knew the answer. So I pulled my thumb back and locked the phone. I sat on the edge of the bed with both hands flat on my knees, the way I sit when I'm reading a structural report that doesn't add up. Still, focused, looking for the load that's not where it should be. And I asked myself one question: what, exactly, are they selling? Because here's the thing. Nathan typed, "Closings the 26th." That's real estate language. Mom mentioned a buyer and a walkthrough. Karen is a person who arranges those things. If they were selling Nan Margaret's house, that was a problem, but it was also a question. Nan died 3 years ago. The house should have gone through probate or a trust or whatever she'd set up, and I didn't know the answer because nobody had ever told me. Nobody asked me to sign anything. Nobody mentioned an estate attorney or a closing date or a buyer until 47 messages fell into my lap by accident. So before I said a single word to anyone, I needed to know what I was actually dealing with. Not the emotions, the paper. The recorded, filed, notarized paper. I turned on the lamp, opened my laptop, and typed the Millfield County Recorder's Office into the search bar. While the county website loaded, slowly, the way small government portals always do, I unclipped my keyring from my bag and held it under the lamp. 4 keys: my apartment, my car, my office badge fob, and the brass one. Nan Margaret's key was thicker than the rest, a little tarnished, with a square bow that dug into my palm when I squeezed. I'd carried it for 8 years, never took it off the ring, even after she died, even after I stopped going to the house because it hurt too much, and because nobody invited me anyway. The night she gave it to me, Thanksgiving, she'd pulled me aside after the dishes were done and the football was on, and the house smelled like nutmeg and dish soap. The whole family was in the living room. She walked me to the front door, took the key off a hook by the coat closet, and pressed it into my hand. "This is your home whenever you need one, Audrey." She said it loud enough that Mom looked up from her phone. Dad glanced over. Nathan didn't. Brooke was 12 and drawing on a napkin. Mom had smiled the way she smiles when she thinks someone is being theatrical. A tight lift at the corners, no teeth. "Mom, she's not homeless," she said. Nan didn't look at her. She looked at me. "Keep it." I nodded. I didn't understand then why she said it that way. Like she was handing me something heavier than a key. Like it was a document, not a gesture. The county recorder's page finally loaded. I typed in the address: 412 Sycamore Street, Millfield, Ohio. The search wheel spun. I set the key on the desk next to the laptop and waited. The recorder's site was basic. A white page, blue links, a search bar that looked like it hadn't been updated since 2011. I got a list of documents associated with 412 Sycamore. The original purchase deed from 1974 when my grandparents bought the place, a refinance in 1998, a satisfaction of mortgage in 2009, and then one more entry. A quitclaim deed, recorded 8 years ago, with a document number I could click. I clicked it. The scan took 30 seconds to load. Grainy, slightly tilted on the page, the way county scans always are. At the top, quitclaim deed. Grantor: Margaret Ann Grant. Grantees, plural, line 1, Diane Patricia Grant. Line 2, Audrey Elizabeth Grant. Tenants in common. I read it again, and again. I wasn't looking at a family tradition or a sentimental gesture. I was looking at a recorded legal instrument that said I owned half of that house. Not symbolically, not emotionally. On paper, filed with the county, indexed and searchable by anyone with a browser and the address. I sat back in the cheap desk chair and let it roll 6 inches. Nan hadn't just given me a key. She'd given me the deed. And she'd done it publicly, through the proper channel, with a notary stamp and a filing number, because she knew, she must have known, that a key can be taken back, but a recorded document can't be wished away. She hadn't been theatrical. She'd been tactical. Quietly, precisely, without asking permission from anyone in the family who would have told her not to. I pulled up the rest of the filings. There was no subsequent transfer. No deed from me to anyone else. No court order. No quitclaim releasing my interest. My name was still on that house the same way it had been since the day Nan signed the paper. The county recorder didn't care that I hadn't visited in 3 years. The county recorder didn't care that my family had stopped setting a plate for me. The county recorder only knew what was filed. And what was filed said Audrey Elizabeth Grant was an owner. I remember the day she signed it. I was 25, home for a weekend because Nan had called and asked me to come. She'd had a minor stroke 2 months earlier. A TIA, the doctors called it. Transient ischemic attack, the kind that resolves but warns you the next one might not. She was sharp again by the time I arrived, standing in the kitchen making iced tea like nothing had happened. But she had an appointment the next morning, she said, and she wanted me to come with her. I assumed it was medical. It wasn't. We drove to a small office on Main Street, a notary public who doubled as a tax preparer. Nan had papers already drawn up. She sat across from the notary and explained calmly that she wanted to add me to the title on 412 Sycamore. Tenants in common, she said, like she'd rehearsed it. So the house doesn't get tangled up in probate later, and so Audrey has a place that's hers. She signed. I signed. The notary stamped it, and we dropped the original at the recorder's office on the way home. The whole thing took 40 minutes. When we got back to the house, Mom was in the kitchen. Nan told her. She didn't hide it. Mom's face went flat. "You're putting Audrey on the deed? Not me?" Nan poured 2 glasses of tea and handed me one. "You're already on it, Diane. Now Audrey is too." Mom set her jaw. "This is dramatic, Mom. She doesn't even live here." Nan didn't argue. She just said, "The paper's filed. It's done." I remember feeling awkward, like I'd been handed a gift I hadn't earned in front of someone who thought I didn't deserve it. I thanked Nan and changed the subject. I didn't understand what she'd actually given me. I do now. Back in the hotel, 2 in the morning, I had the deed scan open in one tab and the group chat screenshots in another. I toggled between them like I was cross-referencing a structural report against field conditions. The deed said I was a co-owner. The chat said they were selling, and the math was simple. You can't easily sell a house when someone else's name is on the title. That's not a loophole or a technicality. That's property law. If my name was on the deed, and it was, right there in the county's own database, scanned and indexed, then no title company would clear the closing without questions. No buyer's lender would approve a loan on a clouded title. The sale might not die instantly, but it would stall hard, and stalling a real estate closing a week before Christmas is close enough to killing it. I closed the laptop and lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The air conditioner hummed. My phone sat dark on the nightstand, finally quiet after hours of buzzing. I thought about calling Nan. That was the reflex. 3 years dead, and I still reached for her number when things didn't make sense. She would have known what to do. She always did. She planned 8 years ahead and filed the paper that proved it. She didn't tell me what to do with it because she trusted me to figure it out when the time came. I turned on my side and looked at the brass key on the desk, sitting next to the laptop like a small, patient witness. The county recorder confirmed what Nan set up. My family confirmed what they were trying to do. The only question left was what I would do with both pieces of information. I didn't have an answer yet, but I had something better. I had time. The closing was December 26th. It was December 3rd. 23 days. I need to stop here for a second. If you're watching this and part of you is doing the math on your own family, who would notice if you went quiet? Who only calls when they need a signature? I see you. Subscribe and stay with me, because what I found in that county database is exactly why I never raised my voice. Not once. The next morning, Mom called. I let it ring 3 times before I answered, because I needed 3 rings to flatten my voice into something normal. "Hi, sweetheart." She sounded warm. She always sounds warm when she wants something to go smoothly. "So, Christmas. We're keeping it small this year, just the 4 of us at the house. You know how it is. But if you're back from your project by the 28th, you could swing by for leftovers." The 28th. There it was. Delivered on schedule, exactly as the chat prescribed. I held the phone away from my ear for a second and looked at the screenshot still open on my laptop. Message 14, Diane. The 28th. Say we're doing a small thing on the 28th. She was reading from her own script. "That sounds fine, Mom. I'll check my schedule." "Perfect. Don't bring anything fancy, Just yourself. She laughed. I didn't. I said goodbye and hung up, and sat very still for a long time. The worst part wasn't the lie. I'd been lied to before. About schedules, about why I wasn't included, about whether they'd received the gift I sent. The worst part was how easy it was for her. The rhythm of her voice, the warmth she manufactured, the little laugh at the end, all of it practiced, all of it aimed at keeping me exactly where I was. Far away, uninformed, and grateful for leftovers. She didn't even hesitate on the date. No pause, no stumble, no flicker of guilt in the word 28th. Just the number, delivered smooth, like a receptionist confirming an appointment. Just the 28th, like she was reading a weather forecast. I saved the call log, not the audio, just the timestamp. December 4th, 9:47 a.m., duration 2 minutes and 11 seconds. 2 minutes to lie to your daughter. She didn't even need 3. 2 days later, Brooke called. She didn't mean to tell me anything, she just talked too much, the way she always does when she's nervous. She started with small talk. Her job at the salon, a guy she'd been seeing, a complaint about the weather. Then she mentioned Nathan, and her voice shifted. He's been really stressed. The shop's not doing great. Nathan ran an auto body shop on Route 9 outside Millfield. He'd opened it 4 years ago with a loan co-signed by Mom. I knew about the loan because Mom had mentioned it once, proudly, at a dinner I was actually invited to. One of the last ones. How bad? I asked. Brooke paused. Bad. Like the bank sent letters bad. Mom's on the hook too because she co-signed, so if he defaults. She trailed off. I didn't push. I didn't need to. The picture assembled itself. Nathan's business was going under. The co-signed loan meant Mom's credit and possibly her savings were exposed, and selling Nan Margaret's house was the fastest way to cover the gap. The house was paid off. No mortgage. In a market like Millfield's, a 2-story clapboard on a quarter acre might bring $250, maybe $270. Enough to clear the loan. Enough to bail Nathan out and get Mom off the hook. Enough to matter. And there it was. The shape of the thing I hadn't been able to see from the group chat alone. This wasn't about hating me. It wasn't personal the way a slap is personal. It was financial triage, and I was the complication they'd decided to root around rather than include. They didn't cut me out because they were angry. They cut me out because involving me would mean admitting they needed something from me, and admitting that would mean treating me as someone whose answer mattered. That was the part they couldn't stomach. All they needed to close was one signature they assumed I'd hand over without reading the fine print. Or better yet, one signature they could avoid needing if they'd just kept me out of the room entirely. Brooke circled back to small talk. I let her. Before we hung up, she said something that stuck. We just didn't think you'd care about the old place. I said goodnight and wrote the sentence down on the hotel notepad, word for word. December 10th. I'd been back at the bridge site for a week, driving rebar schedules during the day and reading real estate law at night. I downloaded the full deed scan from the county recorder's website and saved it to a folder on my desktop.